Hey, Jocelyn. I have a few points that I wanted to, I guess, respond to from your video. The first one was whenever you mentioned that it may be hard for these clients to stay motivated to come to therapy because it's progressive. I think that you're definitely right, because whenever you know you're going to get worse no matter what, of course it's going to be hard to stay motivated. But I think that kind of falls into our job, that we need to explain to them why they need to come to therapy, that we can slow down that progression. It doesn't necessarily have to keep getting worse and worse. We can work on some maintenance skills, and that's part of our job, is to explain that to them and try to keep them motivated. The second one that I thought that I liked about your post was how you talked about the siblings, and how that would indicate that it's genetic. I was thinking the same thing whenever I was watching it, that the odds of that happening are probably very, very rare, but that since they identified a gene that it's associated with, then it would make it a genetic disorder. So I thought that was a very interesting observation that you made. And then the other thing was, you mentioned that the younger kid, Donovan, I think his name was, that his disorder seemed to impact him more physically than with his speech. And I think that might be because he is so young, that because your physical skills are so much more outward. They're I can't think of the word, but the opposite, gross motor. So they're very gross motor skills, whereas your speech is a very fine motor skill. And I would think that as a degenerative disorder, that it would probably start impacting your gross motor skills before it starts impacting your fine motor skills. So that might be why. I don't really know that answer. That's just my thoughts on it. And then the last thing was your assessment and treatment between the pediatric and adult population. All the points you made were really great. The only thing that I would say is that they were pretty general. Those are pretty much the same differences you would see with most disorders that you would work with pediatric and adults. The only thing that I could think of that would be more specific to Friedreich's ataxia would be that with children, they may not demonstrate the characteristics or the symptoms as acutely or as an adult would. So you may need to dig a little deeper to find out if this is perhaps their diagnosis. And then also, like I said earlier, you really want to make sure that you're keeping both children and adults motivated to come. With children, their parents can kind of force them to come. They don't necessarily have to have the same amount of motivation. Of course, for them to participate in therapy, they need to be motivated, but as we've learned, that can usually be pretty easy with kids. We play games, we give them candy, stuff like that. So that kind of keeps them motivated. But with adults, you would need to focus more on keeping them motivated to keep coming. So those are my thoughts on in response to your video. But overall, I thought that you had some really great ideas and a really good interpretation of everything. So yeah, thanks.